jump straight into the Borderlands movie, why we're here. I think the first thing I want to touch on is just how long in the works this has been. The landscape's changed so much since it was announced in 2015, and even since it began filming in 2021. We had Fallout, Last of Us, Mario. Does that give you like a bit of a boost going into this premiere?
It's certainly validating. You know, the first meeting I took with Ari on this project was in 2011. The first time anyone ever approached me about a Borderlands movie was actually in 2009. So, yeah, and I beat Ari up for a couple of years before we ended up deciding to work together and developing the thing. But back then, you know, the expected value was, oh, it's a video game movie, it's going to suck. So, but Ari's pitch, you know, he and Avi, Ari and Avi Arad, with Arad Productions, you know, famously Avi Arad founded Marvel Studios and figured out how to take comic books and turn them into some really amazing entertainment properties on the big screen. So their pitch to me was that they thought Borderlands would be a great place to prove, a great vehicle to prove that you could do it with video games. And they loved the game. Ari was a gamer. That's one of the reasons why I beat him up for 2 years, is to prove that he wasn't just some typical Hollywood person trying to capitalize on what we created. But no, we started gaming together and he was the real deal. So that's what helped the deal get done.
That's really interesting, just how long it's been in the works for then, because since then we've also had like the ensemble like action movie really kick off, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers to a certain extent as well. Were there points like sort of during production where like these things would get really popular and you got back to the drawing board, yeah, let's take inspiration from these, or was it just always like, no, we're going to stick to what
it's funny. When Guardians came out, that was really, really validating. I did a panel with James Gunn once, and he told me that Borderlands was an influence for him. So they were, James is I mean, look, there's a million, obviously the source material is really most important, and there's a zillion cool influences any artist has, but it was awesome to know that, you know, those guys were looking at what we were doing in the video game space. And for us, it was really, really validating. So I think that increased the chances. You know, it's really difficult to get this kind of a film made. It's not cheap, and there's a lot of people involved, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of commitment, and there's only so many films of the scale you can make in a year, or any studio can make in any given year. So to get that level of commitment required confidence, and I think that the success some other folks that were taking risk were having with video game adaptations and movies of this style, and I think the zeitgeist of like where we were culturally and what story this is to tell. It's not just, you know, I think we're getting to a point soon where it's not like, oh, this is a video game adaptation. It's really about like, what's the nature of the story and the universe and the narrative and the fiction and the characters, and how could that resonate with an audience? And video games, like any other medium, are just a possible place to discover cool stories and characters and situations that we really want to experience on a big screen. And that's what movies are all about.
I think something that Borderlands shares with other movies, not just video game movies, any comedy as well, is that comedy is so subjective, and some stuff might work in a video game, might not work in a film. And obviously as well, the comedy changes with time. You know, it started filming in 2021. Was it a fear maybe that it might, for its comedy, might feel like a movie that was sort of filmed a few years ago, held back during COVID?
When we started, you know, we weren't sure how much of a comedy it would be. Borderlands is always, you know, one of the things about the Borderlands games from when I, you know, created that with the team was it was always meant to be this uncomfortable place between two things you don't normally jam together. Like in the video game world, it was a role-playing game and a shooter jammed together, or a Western and a sci-fi jammed together. In storytelling ideas, it was a drama and a comedy jammed together. Our center line was always very serious and the stakes were always high, but we just never took ourselves seriously. So around the fringes and on the surface, we're just having a lot of fun. And I think in a movie context, what we learned is that is a really good formula for a lot of people having a lot of fun in the movies, where there is something serious and meaningful and heartfelt, and the characters are real and relatable with what they're going through. But we can do absurd things for entertainment value and entertainment purposes and lean into the comedy in ways that a lot of properties can't. And I think that gave Borderlands an advantage here as this all was unfolding.
Leading into the fun of it, I had to ask about the cast because recently, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Cate Blanchett's interview where she talked about how she, during COVID, when she got the offer to be in the movie, she was, what was it, wielding a chainsaw around? And that kind of got her into the spirit of wanting to be in a Borderlands movie. Was that atmosphere on set when she had a flamethrower?
Yeah, even before, it was actually my wife, Christy, played Borderlands with Cate and her kids to get her familiar with the character and the whole universe. So that attitude was there even before anyone showed up on the set. And Cate was awesome. Like she's a rock star. When the cameras are rolling, you absolutely believe her. And there was this one scene I remember we were shooting it. You'll see it in the film when Cate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis are playing the roles of Lilith and Dr. Tanis. And they are deep into the lore I created, talking about the map to the vaults and like all of this lore in this universe that my team and I have spent so much time building in the video game space. And I'm watching them act, and it's freaking Cate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis, Academy Award winners, and I'm buying it. I'm just like, oh my God, this is so real. This is and because they're so good. They are so good, and they brought these characters to life in ways I could never imagine when we're building only digital stuff in virtual space. They brought these characters to life in the real world, and I'm grateful.
Just on the cast, actually, I mean, a lot of people were quite taken aback when the cast was announced because they're huge names, but also not perhaps what people were expecting, maybe not like the fan cast people had. Did you anticipate that kind of reaction?
Actually, yeah. It's there's always, but here's the thing. I think that reaction comes from a very small percentage, because the truth is, there's a lot of people in the world, and we love entertainment. Borderlands games have sold to tens, 100 million people have played Borderlands games, and only, when you look at a post on Reddit or a thread on Twitter or something, you'll see dozens of comments or hundreds of comments, which is like 0.0001%. And the people that tend to comment, the people that tend to where we're kind of gauging those reactions, they're not necessarily reflective of the whole, but there's always somebody who wants to be reductive. And so you have an incredible talent like Kevin Hart, who started as a comic. But Kevin Hart is amazing. He's an incredible talent, and he's a freaking action hero. And I think when people see him in Borderlands, they're going to realize, oh, Kevin's an action star. And I think that's one of the reasons why Kevin did it, is to demonstrate to the world that he is an action hero and can do it. And if you're going to decide that the reason why you should cast someone is based on their height, I want the best talent on my projects. When I'm in the movie, I don't think for one moment about Kevin's height, except for when he jokes about it in one of the gags near the beginning of the movie, just to get that out of the way and on the, off the table. And it's, and you can make nitpicks about any given cast member, but the truth is, amazing talent brings it. And we enjoy characters in films when we believe them, and the best talent in the world makes us believe them.
Well, it sounds like you really threw yourself into being quite hands-on this. Is this a role you anticipate having in the future of future adaptations of games?
Well, Borderlands is very precious to me. My company, I founded Gearbox and built the game from the ground up with my team, and I remember scribbling the Borderlands logo onto my desk at work as I was designing it, and the name and everything about this. It's very precious and very personal. So I wanted to be very closely involved. I wasn't an authority on the film, but I was a resource. And so I was there every single day of development, every single day of prep, and every single day of shooting. And I was there for Eli and the cast and the crew, and giving them everything that they wanted from me, or that I could, to help them understand the world that we'd made. And I think I'd like to think that that's that's kind of what I would wish other creators would do when their things are adapted. And so I just wanted to put everything I could into this, because I'm grateful for the audiences that we have and the fans that we've earned over the years with our game, and I just wanted to do right by them.
And having done this project from the initial talks all the way back in 2009 to finally getting to the premiere, was there a point where you felt like, okay, it's really hitting the ground running now, like we're really going to start moving this and see it come together?
I think the point is on launch day on August 9th.
It will feel real.
It's a process, and every day feels like, wow, that's an amazing accomplishment. We're now past that. We got forward and we've broken through that barrier, but there's always more barriers to come. And of course, the real test comes when audiences get to enjoy this thing that we've poured our hearts and souls into for so long. And I'm very eager and excited, and I'm anticipating that feeling to share that moment with the fans that come out and see the movie.
Yeah, I think I might have time to squeeze one more question in, if that's okay. And it's a cheeky one, but I have to ask. So for fans of the games, when can they start looking forward to maybe some whispers about Borderlands 4 or anything to do with that?
Oh man, well listen, I don't think I've done a good enough job hiding the fact that we're working on something, and I think people that love Borderlands they're going to be very excited about what we're working on, and I think these are fuzzy words, but sooner rather than later we're going to be talking about what we've been working on, and I can't wait, because I think I'm genetically made to try to create joy and happiness and build entertainment. And I love movies and I love video games and I love entertainment. So I'm grateful that we have so many great things coming with Borderlands. And I can't wait to talk about the stuff that we're working on with our fans.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, cheers.